civil war that's going on between the Browns fan base right now, in which I am one of. I am a Browns fan. You have the polar opposite sides. There are the ride with six, no matter what, idiots, in my opinion. And then you have the people who are full-on Baker haters, hated him since day one, hated him since college, who are also idiots, in my opinion. I think it is ridiculous how this has gotten so political, in my opinion, where you can have no middle ground, you can have no objectivity on this situation. People either say that you are crazy if you think that Baker's not the guy and they're not going to give him a chance next year, and then you have people who will say you're crazy if you think he was ever good. Like, it amazes me how both sides are just so crazy in their own ways. Now, I will give you my opinion, and people will say, because of my opinion, that I'm a Baker hater. This could not be any further from the truth. If you go back, and I'm not encouraging you to do this because it probably sucks, but if you look at the majority of my channel, especially early on, it has been nothing but defending Baker Mayfield. It has been nothing but positivity about him going forward. I'm to the point now where I am done. I think the organization is done, and I think it's best for both sides to move on. And I blame Baker for a lot of it. I blame the organization for a lot of it. People will say because of that opinion that I'm a Baker hater. I was one who said the Browns should take him with the number 1 overall pick in 2018. Now, if you look at the options of Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield, yeah, Baker's been better than Sam Darnold. Now, you have some people who will say the Browns should have took Lamar Jackson number 1. That was not happening. Josh Allen, sure, he might have been in the conversation, but how realistic was that? I think people forget the truth and everything that was going on around draft time and everything like that. So if you strictly look at Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield, the decision was right. However, if you factor in the other guys, clearly Baker has not been the best in that class. He's been the third best so far. So to me, it's amazing how people are unable to objectively look at this. Let's start with the ride with six people first. If you are one of these people who think that Baker can do no wrong, that Browns are 100% going to have him going forward, you blame everybody else but him. Check yourself into a mental hospital. You know, I've had people tell me, wake up. You're not looking at this the right way. Baker's been the best quarterback for the Browns in how many years? What are you talking about? Baker's been the best quarterback for the Browns in how many years because he's been the only quarterback to play decent at times in his career. That whole argument to me is just brain dead, idiotic, and stupid. It amazes me how fans think that somehow is convincing to people. Like, what, are you going to compare Baker Mayfield to Brandon Weeden, Cody Kessler, Brian Hoyer, Deshaun Kaiser? Is that what you're doing right now? Are you crazy? Like, is that what you're comparing Baker's play right now to? It's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. And then you have the people who have hated Baker since day one, who have been actively rooting against him and hated him even when he's successful. I know there have been people who have said that Baker's never been good throughout his career. That is also ridiculous. Let's look at this objectively. Let's look at Baker Mayfield's career in the NFL objectively. His first season, a lot of dysfunction off the field, but on the field, Baker's play was very good. He made big-time NFL throws, made everybody think that he's the guy. Now, his second year, Freddie Kitchens, bad offensive line, whatever, OBJ drama, it was terrible. It was horrible. And I think 2019, what happened to Baker, what caused him to start having these bad habits, is the reason why we're at this point where we are right now. Because Baker Mayfield in 2019 started playing with happy feet. He started not trusting himself. He started getting ego to the point where it was affecting him. And that's the stuff you see now. And I think that's the real Baker Mayfield. I think it's going to take a lot to fix that out of him. And that's why I think the Browns are going to move on, because I think he's not going to be fixed in Cleveland anymore. That's my thoughts. If you disagree, you're allowed to have your opinion. But I think to the point where we're at right now is where that 2019 Baker Mayfield with all these issues and all these problems, I don't know how it gets fixed. Now in 2020, Baker, after the first couple games, once OBJ went down, started playing very high-level quarterback play. Now, very high, I mean capable. He was competent. He did a really good job. He got the ball where he was supposed to be, and at times he made big-time NFL throws. Now, in 2021, you can blame the injuries. You can blame Kevin Stefanski. Here's why I think that whole thing is ridiculous. Because it's fine to say that Baker's been playing injured all year when he's bad. But let's not pretend that Baker hasn't looked fine at times. Because there have been games this year where Baker Mayfield has made some big-time throws. The Bengals game, he made a heck of a throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones for the touchdown. Everybody remembers it. It's in my intro to the video. Baker has made some big-time throws this year. So it's one or the other. Either Baker can't play because he's injured, or he's playing injured, but he can still play good enough football. Now, we've heard both sides of this. We've heard Alex Van Pelt come out and say that Baker's heavily hindered by the injury, and then you've heard Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry say we're expecting him to play his best football, and he's able to play his best football. This is the most frustrating thing to me, because the fans are so stuck to both of their sides that they're not willing to look at this objectively. The reality is Kevin Stefanski will not be fired. Despite what some idiotic people think, he's not going to be fired. You're at the spot right now where you have to ask the question, and I think this will determine if the Browns move on from not. Do you think that the Browns are ready to win and make a run now? I think that answer is yes, and I think if the organization and the front office thinks that answer is yes, then they will move on. Because the reality is, despite what anybody thinks, Kevin Stefanski's offense, the way it is structured, the way it is built, is for quarterbacks to have simple, easy throws and easy reads. Now, you can say that the Browns don't have good receivers, and I agree with that statement. But when Baker Mayfield is continuously, and I mean continuously, missing open guys, in the Steelers game, he had Donovan Peoples-Jones wide open and David Njoku wide open, and instead of throwing the football, he held onto it, double-clutched, and took a sack. That is not Kevin Stefanski's fault. That is Baker Mayfield's fault. We can pretend that Baker's not to blame for anything, but he is, 100%. So going forward, if you are on both sides of this argument, if you're on the Ride with Six side, I think you're about to be heavily disappointed, because I think the Browns are going to trade Baker Mayfield and then either trade for a quarterback, sign a quarterback, and draft a quarterback, something. They will have a plan if they move on from Baker. That's what I see happening. I see no way right now that Baker's back next year, because just like some of the issues we've seen before, he wants to blame everybody else except himself. And I think that's a problem for the Browns. So if you're on the side of Baker hate, I think, you're probably going to be pretty happy, because I think the Browns are going to move on. But both sides are wrong. If you think that Baker has been terrible his whole life, you are wrong. If you think that Baker is the greatest thing to ever happen to the sport of football, like some of you think, you are wrong. It is what it is, people. It doesn't matter what any of us think. The front office is going to do what they're going to do. And the reality is, this front office is analytical based. They look at things from that perspective. And the number one thing with analytics offensively that they look at as the biggest negative is turning the football over. Baker Mayfield, since he's come into the league, has led the league in turnovers. Now, I know that's been the big media thing pushed, and no, I know there's some people who think if you say that, then you're compromised and you're being paid by Fox or the NFL to say this stuff. No, I'm stating facts here. Baker Mayfield has turned the football over a lot. Healthy, injured, whatever. He's turned it over a lot. And to me, this front office, after last season and after this season, to me, they realize what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. They looked at the big picture. I think it's over. I think it's done. So I'm going to have plenty of people who think that I'm a Baker hater. I am not. If you look at my channel, I've done nothing but defend Baker, but I'm done. I'm done. I looked at this from a big picture perspective. The fan bases of other teams laugh at us because of how many excuses people are willing to make for the horrible quarterback play of Baker Mayfield. It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing time to be a Browns fan right now. And the fact that Baker's playing as bad as he is not a good thing. It's a horrible thing because it means we wasted many years and we wasted a number 1 overall pick. That's the truth. Accept it, deny it. It is what it is. So both sides are wrong. The reality is probably a middle ground, which, again, it's my opinion. So of course I'm going to say I agree with myself, but I think the reality is no, Baker's not been horrible 24/7 and he's not been good 24/7. And all the Browns want from the quarterback position is not great top 10, top 5 quarterback play. They just want consistency. They want consistency. It's how the offense is built. There's a reason why Kevin Stefanski didn't run Nick Chubb. Okay? And no, this is not a conspiracy theory. They wanted to see everything they could out of Baker. They have played like that in order to see. And he has shown them. And it's over. It's done. The Browns are going to move on. They're not going to pay Baker Mayfield $19 million to play this bad. They're not. Some other team will. Some other team will trade for him. They'll pick him up. They'll give him a chance. Sam Darnold was much worse, and he got a second chance. So, of course, Baker will. But if the Browns think they're ready to win now, they will move on because they're not going to waste another season of Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Jadeveon Clowney if he comes back, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, all of these talented players the Browns have. They will not waste it on Baker Mayfield. That's the reality. So, doesn't matter what any of us thinks. The Browns are going to do what they're going to do. And in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear that this was done. I think it shows it in the press conferences. And yes, the media is making things worse than it is. But I think that when you look at it objectively, it's pretty clear that the Browns, A, have a good roster, and B, are not fine with the quarterback play right now. I don't understand how people can blindly defend Baker and also blindly hate Baker for his whole career. I don't understand it. So, he is a talented quarterback to an extent. He has NFL talent in his arm, in his head. He does not. There's a reason why he has the problems he does. So, if I'm Baker, I'm doing everything I can to get to Sean Payton and hopefully coach him up in a Drew Brees style and get the best out of him. But if not, he's either going to go down a Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston route where you just bounce around the league and continue to have your problems, or he can be Ryan Tannehill. I think it's more likely that he is a Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. That's my opinion, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure I'll be called a Baker hater because I'm stating the obvious facts. But all I can say is wake up, look at it objectively, take your Browns fan glasses off, and, just reevaluate it, regardless of your opinion. That's what I did, and that's why I've come to this point where I think it is done. So have many other people. I disagree with Quincy Carrier a lot on some things, but he's to the same point. He's not an idiot. He knows what he's talking about. There are plenty other people who know what they're talking about. So if you as a fan sit there on Twitter and say, oh, I ride with 6 no matter what, you're delusional. You are delusional. So it is what it is. It's going to be an interesting offseason. So let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.